Greetings, sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. This is Body-Culinary, and welcome to Friday, 5 a.m. workout. And this morning, I thought I'd do something a little different. Well, not that different because on this channel, I used to have an early morning deep relaxation, aka meditation, but really deep relaxation. Nothing too serious. And by the way, I woke up like this. That's the beauty of having this here. So I really, really treasure the early morning, the wee hours, in particular between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. in the morning, because I have found consistently for many years that this is a time of the day where you can really tune in and listen in and have a check-in with your own onboard divine innate intelligence. Some people would say the voice of God, your intuition, your own internal compass. And I have found that I find that really critical. Um, in contrast to the rest of the day, when people start getting up, your children get up, or when you start rushing to break your neck for work, which you will mitigate a lot of that by getting up earlier. It's just that I find you can't hear as well. Um, Anxiety starts to creep in. Yeah, it's like your whole mindset shifts as the volume gets increased on the other channels, if you will. Other people talking, chit chatting, getting into worker bee mode, production for survival, in contrast to quiet, self reflection, creativity, intentional play time with yourself. So the quiet time, I find is more than sleep. I find it deeply restful, and I find it a wonderful opportunity to reset the nervous system. So I'm going to go back for a moment, just being intuitive and just listen to my own intuition. I thought rather than just do the community African dance and sculpt today, hopefully you had a good rest. But in contrast to sleep, I'm going to do some intentional relaxation. If you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Body-Culinary. I'm a professional chef, personal trainer, natural born woman. Shout out to you, whatever your expression is. And on this channel, I share some of my journey of radical self acceptance. Although I have returned to natural for many decades, locks is just uh, another part of this journey. So as you can see, I have hair that is untwisted, unoiled, all of that good stuff, and that's just fine by me. I'm not interested in any products. I find it clutters the mind. I just find it cumbersome. It's not about lazy. It is more so about ease and relaxation, which is something I really, really prioritize as part of my that self care to me. Self care is not just putting on more stuff, right? It's really feeling free in your body, especially in this time where I feel like the quote unquote ever moving goalposts of beauty, the way it feels to me, it feels very prison like. And I'm just not down for that. I'm not anti makeup or however people want to express, because we're all on different parts of our journey. I've had a gold tooth and a Jerry curl, all kinds of stuff. But for me, being comfortable in my own hair and skin, even when I become 60 and 70 and 80 and my hair is white, is very, very important to me. So I share some of my journey of radical self acceptance. What that looks like is being really creative um, with the features that have been divinely assigned to me in a way that is easy and that complements the features I have. What I also share on this channel are three what I will call leverage lifestyle practices. And those lifestyle practices are something we all have access to. I don't know. I often think of like a capsule wardrobe. These are uh, principles uh, that can carry you through every phase and spill into every phase of your life, and that are not just reliant on me. If you have space in your home, don't mind the roosters. Um, if you have space in your home for an exercise mat, you have access to administering very, very deep, significant therapy to yourself. And I think I'm going to plug in my computer. You have the opportunity to administer some deep therapy to yourself that is not reliant on something external, on therapists and everybody's books. You really can experience being your own counsel. And I don't feel like that's really encouraged today. Again, that is a core value for me that's really important. Now, I do value coaches. I have been investing in coaches for myself for many years. I think it's important. I would recommend most people, especially women, find a way to prioritize coaching, specific types of coaching. Doesn't have to be me in their life, because quite often when life happens, the first thing to go out the window is our movement practice. Um, Exercise, if you want to call it that. I call it a movement practice for several reasons. Um, the healthy foods that you prioritize for yourself, if that's your berries, your walks, those actual actions of care, they go out the window in lieu of caring for family members, um, children, elders, your job. And I think constantly pouring out to other people, not pouring into yourself, in my observation for many years, I think it is a recipe for disaster. I think it is a recipe, maybe let me choose my words a little more. I think it is a recipe for extreme depletion. Extreme depletion. I think it is a recipe for feeling haggard and feeling resentful. And so life happens and jobs change, people leave, people die, wars happen, but somehow care for ourselves gets kicked to the curb. And it's just a formula that doesn't work. It's just a formula that will actually have us self medicating because we are trying to soothe and comfort something that has nothing to do with physical food, right? And a big part of that is rest, relaxation, time and space for yourself in a way that is, to be quite honest, this is not about the makeup palettes and being so performative. And yeah, the three lifestyle practices, because I can be a little long winded. They are peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back, a daily personal movement practice, which I will still get movement in today, and also garden/nature therapy. See, these level the playing field because uh, whatever your job situation, whatever your relationship situation, your money situation, to know you have access to lifestyle practices that are actually therapeutic. Right? I love distinctions. Distinctions make the difference. Therapeutic lifestyle practices that are not necessarily reliant on how much money you have in the bank. Boom, you have the opportunity for consistency. Consistency makes a difference. And we can be very all or nothing. I know what that's like. Being if I can't stay on a healthy diet, then let me just eat all the junk food. Or I can only do 10 minutes of exercise, so I'm not going to do anything. And I tell you, consistency is leverage. You get so much results out of doing a practice, which is why I use lifestyle practices consistently every day, 365 days out of the year. Your learning curve, noticing the little nuances, your body getting used to movement or getting used to different disciplines. Most importantly, self reflection. Self reflection. And there's self reflection in quiet time. There's also self reflection, believe it or not, in your vigorous daily personal movement practice. So, by self reflection, and first of all, not all the dogs, the roosters, everybody's going on. I will say that the current times that we're living in are the opposite of self reflection. Everything is drawing your attention while you are in your human suit, while you're in your body. There is so much stimulus that has you on automatic pilot, right? Where automatically, right, your subconscious, your whole nervous system, all of your attention is going outward, right? Almost like uncontrollably, quote unquote, uncontrollably. Your body's having your nervous systems have an automatic response to all of the stimulus that is coming through your eyes, the things that you're listening to, what you're smelling. You have reactions like the firecrackers, gunshots, bombs. It really has us in fight or flight, and that causes some really serious physiological and chemical changes in the body. So, quiet time and deep relaxation and rest, which I think is a bit distinct from sleeping, both of them very necessary. Though having self reflection, contemplation, intentional, quiet time, I have found to be deeply restful, right? And that is part of the pillar, one of the pillar practices. In addition to our vigorous daily movement, our daily movement practice, I've expressed to the ladies that I work with consistently, right? It's the beauty of consistency. Consistently over the years, I experienced the most positive automatic self-talk, my internal dialogue during exercise, which I find so interesting, right? I like to dial in to how I'm feeling. How you're feeling is very important. How I'm feeling during my exercise or during my movement practice, which, by the way, is extremely challenging. It's very challenging, actually. It's very challenging every day, but I notice that my self talk is very positive, it's very proactive, it's very encouraging. And I even notice when I glance at the full length mirror to the side of me when I'm in the midst of my daily movement practice that I usually have a spontaneous smile on my face. Now you let me know. Is there any is there any time during the day during any of your activities on a regular ongoing basis where you notice that as a distinct pattern? I also notice that quite often when I'm in the mirror, I'm not a big makeup person at this point in my life. Maybe at some point I'll plan it. I notice I have a spontaneous smile on my face, and I notice myself smiling at myself. I appreciate my own hair and skin. So, of course, I just woke up like this. But I think that is something so profound, precious, and it is something I'm protective of. I think many of us might feel fearful or getting to the place where we feel fearful about coming outside without a name brand on, without, for women, without tons of makeup or the internal dialogue that comes before we decide, without making it bad or wrong if we reflect. Before we start to cut ourselves to put different chemical faux parts or um, adjustments, if you will, permanent chemical, I don't know what the word is, a word to choose, faux or imitation body parts inside. There's an internal dialogue that goes on. There's a feeling. There is a feeling that is happening. There's a whole internal dialogue. And I don't know that there is an honest, safe space to reflect on that on social media. So I don't know. You can all can let me know later if you ever do self-reflection, if you've heard the term, if that's something that isn't part of your daily practices. If you listen and dive into your own internal dialogue and the feelings that you have about yourself, your time in your human suit, can you dial in and notice when the tone or the feel of your internal dialogue is very judgmental? Right? Let's say, for example, if you decide to exercise and you put on your exercise clothes and you're looking at your stomach or you're looking at hyperpigmentation or dark marks or your hair, can you quietly observe, almost like a ticker tape going across in your mind? Can you observe your internal dialogue and how you feel about yourself? And we might be surprised that a lot of times it's quite negative. I think this is all of us humans right now. I would say Even with all the warrioring, all the keyboard typing with our different opinions through the screen, it's interesting. I don't think it appears that not a lot of it goes into self-reflection. I don't think a lot of it goes into deep self-reflection. And I think there's a lot of very important information about ourselves and even others, but there's a lot of important information that I don't think that you get anywhere else other than in quiet time and self reflection. So if you think about it, is it the most important thing if I have a piece of lint in my hair or how my hair um, looks or feels? Now, I will say, I do think how you feel about yourself and enjoying your human suit, I do think that that's very important, right? But it's just a distinction that the harsh judgmentalism and comparing yourself to others in a way that doesn't feel good because I cannot look like anybody else. I have a twin, a fraternal twin, but I can't look like anybody. I just could fingerprint, right? I cannot look like anybody else. So it's kind of, in a way, it's kind of silly to want ourselves to look exactly like someone else. And when I think of the younger generation, this current generation coming up, sometimes I feel so concerned that everybody is trying to look like a specific type of model that has been put before us. And that has a set of feelings behind it because we will not be in our 20s and our 30s or our 40s forever. None of us will escape the aging process. I just watched the going home of another elder in my family, with one I'm aware of that is 99, that transitioned at 99, and she's the last in her particular lineage of her siblings. And she has transitioned. They gave a beautiful ceremony, which is also for the people that are still here. And similar to my grandma Lou, who's in her 90s, my great grandma Matthew, who's in her 90s, my great grandma Jean, who's in her 90s. There's something consistent about all of these grandma women and how they stood in the gap, really stood in the gap for community and children, and the impact, the distinct impact that they have had on certain people's lives. Like, I'm so touched, I'm so full. And I think that that kind of legacy is that's super important to me. I talk about Grandma Lou all the time. The way she made me feel, right, in a short period of time without a lot of words, the way she made me feel safe, um, comforted, the messages that she didn't know she was giving me about radical self acceptance. One time I came home and I told my grandma that this boy said that my hands were rough. And she said, "Tell me you're no lazy woman." Just all these gems that she constantly dropped. She is one of the pillars of my self esteem, of the original reflection for esteem. No makeup, plaits in her hair with her silver bangles, and also the type of person she was. So for those people that have been blessed to experience those type of grandmas or those type of elders, where your importance wasn't about how much money you had, or it wasn't really about anything but your character or just you being you. So, and all this stuff online of self love, I don't buy it. I don't feel it because I know what that felt like. I know it. I know I've experienced what it felt like to be heard, cared for, uh, loved, and it was simple. It wasn't about my grandmother wasn't shopping for a whole bunch of clothes. We ate very very simple food, but her being present with me, not on the phone. There was no cell phones back then. Her being present with me, that made me, it carries me through everything. That's how important the distinction was. Grandma got up when it was dark. That's her pattern. When it was quiet, the way she made her food, the order in her life. She set a bar. She set my eyes for something. Radical self acceptance, um, being extremely generous. I don't really, it's rare that I experience that out here. So I often thought of why was grandma so pleasant, everyone else so angry. And so she helped tune my eyes to look for what is the pattern. And one of the patterns, she's one of a few elders that gave me some gems. One of the patterns is the rest and the quiet time and the going to lay down when it's time to lay down, getting up when it's early when not the rest of the world is up. I used to go to an ashram many years ago, and usually the chants were very, very, very early in the morning. I used to think, like, who else is going to travel all the way to this ashram upstate to get up when it's cold outside? It's cold outside to be walking to meditation. I'm like, is anybody else here? And I turn the corner, and it's all of these people here. Um, and we were getting ready for the what's called the Guru Gita, and we were chanting in Sanskrit. It was actually a long chant. I was like, this is a long chant, but it was the sound of everyone's voices chanting to quote unquote God or whatever that early, or the God within you. Those are memories. Those are feelings that I can never forget. So all of these different practices have really set a tone for me, right? And a lot of this was introduced to me by my godmother. So although I don't go to an ashram anymore, especially after I had a child and I couldn't keep trucking around to the 0 o'clock um, meditation, the principles of these practices that really had me turn my attention inward to rest and relaxation, and they were also connected to yoga, and they were connected to eating healthfully. This is why I say they are leveraged lifestyle practices. So this morning, we're going to just sit for quiet, right? So you don't need to be any particular type of religion to sit for deep relaxation. You can call it meditation. A lot of times, our sons will do without the labels because, similar to vegan, raw vegan, carnivore, our human ego has a tendency to get caught up in ego trip in the labels, and the labels don't necessarily guarantee you results. Simple, I found, there's so much leverage in simplicity. So deep relaxation is just that. It is a way that you can reset your nervous system. You can dial into your to your breath, and you can start to draw your attention inward. No labels required. So, what is important though is to sit your body in a fully upright position so that your spine is straight. Because if your spine is all slumped over, then it's harder for oxygen to travel freely up and down your spine into your brain. So, you want to be sitting fully upright. If you need, you can put a pillow. That pillow right here. You can take a pillow, or you can take some yoga blocks, one or two. A tall person may want 2 yoga blocks. If your legs are up here, then you can put a pillow or some yoga blocks underneath your buttocks, so that can help you maintain a pain-free position, right, and a straight spine. If you fall asleep during relaxation or meditation, that's okay, because some of us don't give ourselves permission to go into rest. So I'm going to start with straight spine, even though we're sitting straight up. You want to take your pelvis and tuck your pelvis under. So right around your hip bones, your pelvis. You don't want it spilling forward because that's going to shorten your spine in the back. So tucking the spine under. You want to gently draw your belly button into your spine. Also, your deep core muscles behind your pubic bone, they should be drawn gently up and in. Right? So all of that's supporting your spine. In yoga, that's called Mula Bandha or lock. You want to have your shoulders not slumped forward. They're just around and back, just slightly protracted. If you are standing next to you, you should be able to hear your inhale and your exhale. There are different types of breathing. There is just nose breathing in some of our yoga or stretching practices. And there's also in through the nose and out through the mouth. I really like for my yoga practice in through the nose and out through the nose. Right? So, or whatever is comfortable for you, just as long as you're not constricting or restricting the flow of air. That's going to defeat the whole purpose. And the breath, or what is called riding the breath, It's actually an important practice. So again, I'm smiling because all of this is quote unquote technology. I would say it is a technology, um, but these are all little cues that really help to draw your attention inward, inward, right? Without a lot of bells and whistles. So, um, my dad used to have me put a seashell to my ear, and he said you can hear the sea with the seashell. So that's one way to think of your breath, or kind of like Darth Vader, right? If you put your hand in front of your nose, you'll be doing an inhale. Now, the inhale is not, we're not focusing on the throat, which many of us do, because that's very shallow breathing. The lungs are down here. So I want you to think of, or I invite you to think of expanding your lungs with air. And then when you exhale, you're pushing the air out. So your belly button is pushing in towards your spine, and you're blowing all the old air. But the lungs are down here, not here. Right? So you're going to have a deep inhale and a deep exhale. Your eyes can be open or they can be closed, whatever is comfortable, a combination thereof for you, right? A deep inhale and exhale. We want to strive to make your exhale just as long as your inhale. We're going to deep breathe, and we're going to also have, that's going to be our relaxation, and then we're going to have contemplation / self-reflection. So in contemplation and self-reflection, as a practice was shared with me many years ago, that is simply asking a question of your own onboard divine innate intelligence, right? There's divinity in a sense in all of us, right? If you just think of the magic of us having an electrical alive presence inside of a human suit, which we're going to take off at some point, all of us. We don't know how it's going to happen, but at some point we won't have this gift of a human suit, and nobody really knows what we're going to go to after. We have stories to try to comfort ourselves, but who really knows? So you ask a question, that could be something you're working on or something that you're working through. So, for example, it could be, um, is there anything that I need to be more aware of? Is there anything that's missing? Is there anything that I should be doing? Um, if there's a change that you're striving to make, let's say if there's something that you have a vice you're addicted to, it could be, should I leave? Should I stay? Should I take the job or should I not? You ask a question of your own divine onboard innate intelligence. And once you ask the question, you're actually putting it on the radar of your computer, right? That's one way to think of this intelligence of your own CPU, your central processing unit, your computer, right? Of which you have consciousness, your awakened conscious, and also so much is packed down in memories and information, your subconscious. And once you put that question, you ask that question or you pose that puzzle to your intelligence, you put it in the coordinate system, right? And then your brain is like the computer of your brain is like a cybernetic system. You punch in the coordinates to go to Puerto Rico, and it may not come right now, but eventually your mental activity, your brain is going to go into the files and it's going to seek information to guide you towards that answer. It's actually quite simple. So the brain is a cybernetic system. And perhaps when you think about it this way, the actual hardware and the software of the brain perhaps will be more encouraged to or have the incentive or the healthy curiosity to take a lot more seriously the significance of what we are allowing ourselves to ingest, right, into the holes or the openings of intelligence to the brain, to your eyes, your nose, your senses are taking information which is processed by your brain, and we are being deeply affected by everything that we are ingesting. It can cause us to dance, it can cause us to what we're taking in. It can cause us to entertain and take in things and people into our body temples that are not healthy for us or that don't really make us feel good. And a lot of it is on automatic pilot. So leverage lifestyle practices. Um, it's something that you have access to that is yours where you can tap in and seek your own counsel. So you can ask a question. What is you can decide on your own question. I think the question that comes up for me is like, what is the most um, important thing or the most important reason for me to let go of a habit or a vice and to embrace more deeply my therapeutic lifestyle practices? What is my why? Why is it so important for me to embrace, prioritize, and be consistent with my lifestyle practice? I'm pretty consistent, but we can always go deeper. Why is that important to me? Is it important to me? How bad or how urgently, how deeply do I desire to evolve or to change without making myself bad or wrong? Is there something else I want to experience while in my human suit? What do I want to experience? Um, what is my why? Why is that important to me? That's my question for contemplation. So we're just going to do some deep breathing. If you like, you can write something down in your journal. You don't necessarily have to share it. So sitting up nice and tall, nice and comfortable. We're just going to start with deep breathing. If you're not off, don't worry about it. Now, initially, this may seem like deeper breaths than perhaps you're used to, but that's okay. It's very relaxed. It shouldn't be restricted. It's not panicky. It's just very, very deep breath. It's not holding the breath. It's extending the breath longer. So inhale and exhale. So you can just continue to breathe nice and deep, nice and soft, and just notice. Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel sleepy? Do you feel like you want to lay back down? Do you feel anxious because the breath is longer as you pay attention to your inhale and your exhale? And so now the breath is just as long, just as deep, so you can quiet the breath. Right? So we can use the tool of the sound of the breath to help turn our attention this way internally and to just pay attention and be present with your breath. This exercise can demonstrate to us, to show us the contrast between not paying attention to the breath and often running off with what's going on the movie screen in the mind and all the stimulus that's coming in through our eyes and our ears. We go off and running, having millions of reactions without really paying attention and being awake and alive, kind of like sleepwalking while we're watching a movie. So I invite you to just continue your deep breathing. If you like, you can also place your hand gently on your chest to also just help you stay present and grounded in your body. And you can still maintain your deep awareness of the flow of air in and out of the body. It's something you can also do perhaps at your lunch break or in the evening before you take a meal. It's a good time to help you come back into your present. And it is often when we're not present that we have what I would call mindless consumption, which basically means we're on automatic pilot and we're not really present. So just placing your hand on your chest so you can become aware of whether or not you're breathing very shallow, if you're breathing deep, or if you're hyper breathing or shallow breathing from your neck, but you're breathing deeply into your lungs, filling your lungs with air and blowing it out. So you don't have to take an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours for deep relaxation / meditation and relaxation. Like sometimes you can set a timer. It can be for 10 minutes. It can be for 15 minutes. After you sit for just some deep breathing to ground yourself into the awareness to the magical humility that you have a human body, that it is temporary, then that's a good time to grab your journal and perhaps you can ask that question and you can answer it for yourself. Right? You don't have to share it out loud, but it can be anything that you're working on or working through. So my question, you can repeat a question that's important to you, and you can write a little bit about it. So do your self-reflection. And so part of my question that I turn over and over today is the contemplation. Why is it important? Why is it important / critical that I implement um, deep relaxation daily before I deal with other people, children, loved ones, clients? Why is it so important? Right? I can just ask the question instead of superficially, yet when I try to reflect, it's simply because if I don't, I feel like I didn't connect to myself, my source, how I'm on the planet. I'm not taking anyone else with me when I leave this time in my human suit. So deep reflection and quiet time. It helps me prepare. It helps prepare me for a lot. It helps prepare me and to contend with um, the end of this particular this lifetime. Right? A lot I've spoken about the human fears, the 5, 6 basic human fears, and they are sometimes the different. Let's say they're death, poverty, illness, loss of love, and then finding love, criticism. What's the other one? Death, and with age, sickness, loss of love. Oh man, there's always one that I'm missing. But those are primal human fears. And so a lot of those fears are being triggered constantly in comparing ourselves to others, right? For example, comparing ourselves to others. Subconsciously, the way it can show up is, well, let me alter my body. Let me cut my body. I'm not going to make it right or wrong, right? But I'm going to cut my body and put some faux pieces on it so that I compete with other people for attention in order to make money, in order to survive. And I need to buy more clothes and more makeup so I can compete with other people because it's a scarcity mindset that there's only a limited amount of resources. So I have to keep altering myself because the time is running out. And I don't know how much resources there are. So and here's the kicker: when you have to put yourself in harm's way, your body temple, that's where I think it's critical that we self-reflect because just how much can you turn yourself inside out for a stranger, right? And the money dissipates. Money's meant to be used as a tool, but how we feel about ourselves and the things we're doing to ourselves, if we can recognize the source that it's coming from. Is it coming from a place of fear? And I think that's really critical. So in any event, grounding yourself in your body and asking questions can really help you to um, come to terms with and face or accept some of these things that are inevitable. It is inevitable at some point we'll all become ill at some point in our life and need some assistance. It is inevitable all of us on the internet will cease life as we know it in our human suits. Most of us are fearful of a loss of affection and love, or never finding love, or if we feel like we didn't receive it a certain kind of way in childhood. Most of us, our fragile egos are very fearful of criticism or not being accepted by a group or groups. So these are primal fears. Many of us are fearful of poverty, not having shelter, not having enough food, which is interesting because it's with all the challenges, there's a lot of food on the planet that can be shared. Many of us eat a lot more than we need, right? So even gluttony is coming from a place of scarcity, but that's now how it's being marketed to us, right? Eat, eat, eat. Indulge your senses, indulge your senses. But if we were to really listen in to the undertone of the messages that are being crafted and put out to us, you could sense, right, an anxiety, a desperation that has an undertone, undercurrent of these primal fears, right? Trying to run from, oh, that was the other one. I think it's old age. Old age. Right? Um, Old age, death, poverty, illness, loss of love, never finding love, and criticism. To become old and wrinkled is inevitable. And it's interesting in popular Western culture that it is something so fearful that that's why I question, that's why I would say beauty has become somewhat of a prison. And brings me back to why I value those grandmothers and those great grandmothers who, in their wrinkles, they still had a vitality, they had common sense, they had discernment, they had enough of an ear, they had the patience to listen and to give wisdom, in contrast to just a bunch of random information from the internet. Um, they supported whole communities. They had something that, with all of the technology that many people haven't tapped into or seem to possess, and it's something that's palpable, a care, a genuine care and concern, a relaxation. All of those women, almost 100 years old, dark, most of them dark, dark chocolate. I'm sure to have been their age, they've experienced some trial, but a calm, an acceptance, a gracefulness. I don't, I don't see it. I don't experience it, and I also don't observe that many people um, have the mental capacity or resilience or their heart space, haven't cultivated it within themselves, so they don't have that to hold space for others. So I will say, though, I think it's very important for us to pour into ourselves first, and that isn't always about clothes and material things, which quite often make me feel suffocated. And I like nice things, but sometimes the anxiety to chase more and more stuff. It's something about the undertone of it where you feel like frazzled and anxious, especially as what's being marketed as your self worth hinges on all these material things and not character. Where it's like the fact that we're turned on by people that are unsafe, that have no character, is absolutely astounding. So, in any event, deep breathing, relaxation, mental rest, contemplation, seeking your own counsel, not just from the ego triggered part of ourself that is fearful of these basic fears that is often triggered and the ego will take out the host, but from the essence, I like to call it the essence of you that will never cause harm to you or to another. We can tap into it and have access to it through rest and relaxation, and it can serve as an internal guidance system. Though it is not something to be intellectualized, it is something to be experienced. So that is our practice today. It can be shorter. I've done these again in the past. Mostly a lot of trolls on the channel, which is it really interesting because you sit back and think about it. A lot of folks that are anonymous, that if you peep the undertone, that may be perhaps frustrated with their own lives or surfing or looking on the internet, looking for energy, attention, validation, see me. The tone of it often is mean-spirited. Folks will go back and forth, battling or attacking each other over our physical presentation. So in that sense, although I'm not lazy, sometimes I just figure it's not the most important thing. Health is the most important thing, mental and emotional health, just as much as what we look like. I think perhaps embracing the fact that we will all become old and wrinkled, even with the best care. Care is important. And our bodies will transform and change. And if we don't have character, if we don't have self-control and discipline and vitality, who's going to want to be around us, right? We're not in control of all the things that may have happened to us yet. Our life is still our responsibility. Our mental, emotional health is our personal responsibility because, after all, it's a conflict of interest for many. Who has it? Who has a vested interest in writing the prescription that you will need for your own personal thriving? You. Just you. So I'm inviting you all to create a great day, on purpose, simply because you said so, right? Whatever's in your bank account, whatever your hair is looking like, however imperfect you perceive yourself, whatever errors you've made, you can apply corrective action, right? You have another opportunity. You just woke up. You have another opportunity to put yourself into alignment so that you live a life that's worth living. When you lay down your human suit, like, okay, I'm going into whatever the next transition is, and I'm good, with myself. So I invite you to replay this, perhaps if you're up early enough as you're preparing some beautiful, healthy food for yourself, or if you've been training heavy with us this week, you can use your replay this as you're doing stretching and relaxation. These are some of my secret weapons, right? You can really start to curate the company you keep for yourself and what you're ingesting into your mind. I invite you to consider the undertone of what you're ingesting, how it is making you feel. If you feel more worthy or if you feel integrity with yourself. I feel in integrity with myself right now, how I'm spending my time. So create a great day on purpose. Like, comment respectfully, and subscribe. I do share from time to time on TikTok, Instagram, a little on Facebook. If you're interested in Body-Culinary Academy, I will be streaming more workshops there for food prep with a twist. I really enjoy food prep, but food prep and also time in the garden spent with me. So Body-Culinary Academy is likely where I will be posting and streaming co-ed content or feedback or workshops in Body-Culinary Academy. So you can reach out to me, info@body-culinary.com. Get on the mailing list if you'd like notifications for when I have different workshops. And so it'll be anything having to do with whole, fresh living and unprocessed foods, food preparation, time in the garden, and movement. Those are the things that I am about over here. I also have a private Discord. There's also Flower Fit. If you're interested in community that is specific around sharing your results from your heart rate monitor, what you're doing in the garden. If you're starting a garden, you want to share what you're doing in your garden, your fruits and vegetables, your healthy eating. That is specifically what that community is for. So I like to gauge it so that there are healthy boundaries. I prioritize healthy, respectful boundaries is number one. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out, replay this, and create a great day on purpose. And I will see you soon.